for my timer. Okay. When I was a sophomore in high school, I took the class of chemistry. Now, chemistry was a great challenge for me because although I am relatively smart in math and science, I'd never learned anything like it before. And I struggled with grasping how atoms and molecules formed these compounds and how they reacted with one another. As I wrestled with getting good grades in chemistry, I struggled with learning. It seemed so hard. Why did I have to learn such complicated information? But as I've continued to get older, what I've learned is learning is a blessing. Learning is not a curse. However, today the quote I received from Lewis Carroll's book, Alice in Wonderland, actually contradicts this mindset when he said, that's the reason they're called lessons, because they lesson from day to day. However, in this speech, I'd like to look at why I disagree with Lewis Carroll's quote. Then we'll look at my second point, an example of someone who did not have it true in their life, but achieved great things. Then finally, we'll be drawing some personal applications for us as people. So let's move into my first point. What's Lewis Carroll saying? Well, he talks about this idea of lessons, and he says that they lessen or decrease from day to day. So the principle he's trying to say here is that we will always learn as people, but the lessons we learn will get smaller and smaller as we get smarter. However, I disagree. As people, we should not strive to stop learning. Even when we're 80 years old, at our deathbed, we need to be continually learning and growing. We as people have the responsibility to use the time we have on earth wisely. However, if we choose that when we get to a certain age we will stop learning, this is a very sad mindset because we'll miss what the Lord has for us to do. Now, our lessons may not look the same as we get older, but they should never decrease. So that's why I disagree with Lewis Carroll. Now let's move to my second point. An example of someone who did not have this true of their life, but achieved great things. That example would be of Booker T. Washington. I love the story of Booker T. Washington because he started out as a slave with nothing to his name. People told him he was dumb and could never get an education because he was an African American. However, Booker T. Washington set out to prove them wrong. With nothing in his pockets, he went out to attend the Hampton Institute. However, he had no money, so what he did was he worked as a janitor so that he could have an education. Booker T. Washington so desired to learn how to read and write and have knowledge in his head that he gave everything he had to strive for learning. At the end of his life, what Booker T. Washington did was to found the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, where he helped those who were African American have an education themselves. Booker T. Washington illustrates the principle that no matter how old we are, we should always learn. And learning is a gift. I'm convicted by his story because often I don't think learning is a gift, like I talked about with chemistry. Learning is painful sometimes, whether it's lessons about your character, whether it's lessons in school, or lessons about your job. We need to continue to learn, but it's not always easy. Booker T. Washington in no way had a completely easy path to getting his education. He had to work very hard for it, but he chose to work hard because he knew that his lessons were shaping his character. So now that we've seen an example of this not being true, let's move to my third and final point, applications for us as people. I think it's funny that I drew this quote today because I've been struggling for the past couple of months thinking about my career. I just graduated from high school last month, and I want to go into nursing. However, when I think about the incoming GPA for a nursing student, it's about a 3.75 to a 4.0. And my favorite class, organic chemistry, is going to be one of those classes, and I'm nervous. I think this is going to be a huge challenge. How will I deal with it? But God has been reminding me that the stage He has me on today will look different than the stage He had me on 2 years ago or in the future. But I need to be willing and vulnerable to learn, because in learning, there's always that gift, and learning will shape me as a person. God's been showing me also that I can go into organic chemistry and fail, but if I give it my best shot, I will grow. I will learn. I don't have to be perfect to learn. No, perfection is not the key to learning. Being willing to try is that key, just like Booker T. Washington did. So in conclusion, we looked at this quote from Lewis Carroll that said, that's the reason they're called lessons, because they lesson from day to day. But we've talked about how I disagree, that we as people should be continual learners. Now, our lessons may look different as we grow, but learning is a gift, and we should treasure the journey to be better people. Thank you very much.